What is going on, Bulls Nation? So it's the off season. We speculate and all that stuff, but it looks like we're gonna run the same team. So what's more important, the team or the coach? We'll talk about it right after this.
Get the lowdown on one of the most.
All right, Bulls Nation. So right now the Bulls are handicapped, right? Like it's not anyone's fault. It's just the way their roster is constructed. We can't get a point guard. We won't be able to unless it's via trade, and we don't have assets. We don't. Our assets. It's Zach Levine, maybe DeMar DeRozan. DeMar, he's not going to get you like a top tier point guard. Let's just face it. You might get a first rounder for him with protection. He's older, expiring contract. Same goes with Vooch. You're not. Maybe Patrick Williams, but we don't have draft picks to attach to him. So high level point guards out the window via trade, right? Unless you trade Zach Levine maybe for Trey Young. And that's possible, right? But this is where the management needs to choose between coach or player. If you're going to retain Billy Donovan, and he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. He has a lot of good qualities. He made us to a top five defensive team, which is amazing. His offense is non existent, but as a defensive coach, I think he did a pretty admirable job to working what he does have. And trust me, I am a big Billy Donovan critic and all that stuff, but I gotta give props to the guy. He made it work. He still got some questionable decisions, but that is why if you choose him, you gotta play with his strengths, and that is getting a good point guard next to him. Not just any point guard, a good point guard. But that is, like I said earlier, that is borderline impossible without letting go of one of the big three. Now, if you let go of Zach, that's again with Trey Young, that's possible. But if you really want to build around Zach, then your option is maybe re-sign Vooch. But for the most part, you're gonna have to run back with these players. So if you run back with the players and run back with a coach, most likely you're gonna get the same result. So something has to change. Either you run with the same crew because you don't have any choice, right? Unless Vooch walks for nothing. If Vooch walks for nothing, then you're in a dilemma here because now you're even worse coming into the season than what you were last year. As much as Vooch has deficiencies, he's a pretty good player, and losing him and not replacing him with a viable center would only hurt the team. That's why I don't understand this, like some of the podcast here were saying, oh, trade DeMar because his value is at an all-time high. What is the goal of the Bulls? If their goal is to rebuild, sure, trade DeMar. Don't re-sign Vooch or re-sign him and trade him for picks. Hey, trade Levine too. But if they're trying to compete, trading DeMar for a draft pick does not help you become a better team now. In the long run, maybe. Now, absolutely not. So it doesn't, some of the things there. So if you're retaining Billy Donovan, you need, I think one of the big three needs to go. And that's without saying, Vooch, you resign him for the purpose of trading him. You resign him so you can continue with your cap space, and then you trade him. If not for a point guard, you trade him for an expiring contract for next year. So you can combine those expiring contracts combined with DeMar. So now you can make a run for Jaylen Brown. Now you can throw away the season if you start off. So let's say you resign Vooch and the key is to resign Vooch for an amount that is not absurd, so he'll be tradable. Because if you're resigning for like $28 million, no team is gonna trade for a 33-year-old guy with 3-4 years in his contract making $28 million and it's declining. So it needs to be between 20 and maybe 22. 25 is the absolute ceiling that you would resign Vooch for. If not, let him walk away and try Lonzo Ball, the not player disabled, but the career ending sort of thing, and then you roll from there, and we'll see what happens. But if they ever have an inclination that Vooch is gonna walk, they should trigger that, because if he does, we're screwed. Like we really are. If he's not, you can sign him, maybe not trade him right away, see how it goes. But they gotta be quick on the trigger, because without a point guard, and let's say you retain everyone, including Billy, I guess that's possible too. But you're gonna get the same outcome, and you don't have to wait till February to blow it up. At that point, you don't need to completely blow it up. You leave Zach, you leave Alex, you leave Patrick Williams. Because the following year, like I said, if you play it right, if you trade Vooch for expiring contracts, and maybe trade DeMar for expiring contracts and maybe a draft pick or so, you can position yourself to sign a pretty good player the following year. And you're not completely you don't have to completely rebuild from the ground up, since you have some sort of foundation here. Another option is to go for re-sign Vooch and go for Fred VanVleet. I don't know if that is something that the Bulls would look into. I don't know how much Fred VanVleet is looking for, because if Vooch walks away and let's say you rescind everyone, you have $16 million in cap, maybe you can make a run at him if you get approved for the career ending for Lonzo. If you don't, man, you got like $16 million to work around if Vooch walks. Who can you get really for 16? Now you lost mid-level exception. You only have the room exception, so not the full 12 million. At 16, now you need a center. I don't know which center you're gonna get for 16. I know Jakob Poeltl is probably gonna start at 20, so you don't have a chance at him unless, again. But I think the most pressing need right now, if you're gonna retain Billy Donovan, which I think they will, is a point guard. Because even without, I feel like Vooch is a luxury for this team, and he'll be the key for us. That's why I keep on referring to Vooch, because he'll be the key for us in acquiring a decent point guard. I mean, Kyrie Irving is out there. He's not attainable though. You know, he's max. Plus, do you really want to sign Kyrie for that long and commit like a max contract for Kyrie? If the Bulls are desperate, I don't even know what kind of maneuver they would do to get there. I mean, that is if we go to 35 and Kyrie perhaps look into, not getting the max. But it's a hard thing to imagine. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But now they have to choose. Maybe they don't, but at some point they will. If they choose both, they have at around January, they know if the team is not doing good. They need to pivot right away. They can't wait. By January or after Christmas or something like that, the team is not good. You gotta trade one of those guys to maybe give him a point guard right there and then. And hopefully there's a struggling team who's looking for a big man. The reason I'm not talking about DeMar is that because he's expiring. I'd let him expire, or, 'cause I really want that class for the 25 season and take a shot at Jaylen Brown. If you trade him for contracts, then you won't have a shot at all. So, unless it's for a trade, of course. But, again, what do we have? We don't have assets. We don't have draft picks. Nothing. We have no capital. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you feel about this. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.